Hello, it's Christy Gray, your newest hype girl and astrologer. Welcome to the Cosmic Hotline.
Well, this woman needs no introduction. Welcome back to the Cosmic Hotline, the Cosmic Numerologist, Jenn King. I'm so excited to be connecting with you again today.
Thank you. Me too. It was so much fun last time. I had to come back for more.
And everybody just loved your episode. I was just sharing with Jenn offline that it is in the top 3 most downloaded episodes. So you definitely made some audio magic with us. So thank you so much for coming back on the airwaves with us.
Pleasure. Maybe this time we'll get number 1 slot.
Oh, no doubt. I love this conversation because as soon as Jenn and I first connected, we're kindred spirits. We ended up recording the last episode, and then I think we ended up chatting for an hour and a half offline.
We did. We couldn't stop.
And it was just so nice. Just chatting to you is a breath of fresh air. When you are into anything spiritual or esoteric, and especially too when you want to make an impact, I think that we're authorities in the industry. We're very passionate about what we do. It's a big part of our purpose. And so with that comes responsibility. And I think what tends to happen, and this is why I'm excited to have this conversation with you today, Jenn, is that not everyone has great intentions.
Yes. I could not agree with you more. And it is one of those things that there's a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of different ways and different approaches and then different personalities and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, there are definitely reasonable amount, I would say, of people who operate in the spiritual world who are perhaps not coming at it from a place of being of service. And when I say being of service, I don't mean you shouldn't get paid for what you do, because of course you should, but being of service in the sense that, are you actually helping or are you hindering? And there's a few lines of thinking out there or philosophies out there that I personally find to be very unhelpful and can really hinder and really hold people in a space of not feeling, I guess the word is, empowered about themselves and who they are. And that really bugs me really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because I'm sure you get it just as much as I do. And it's probably been only in the last year where people have really started to open up to me and say, I was recommended to, come and see you because I've had a really negative experience. And there's been numerous conversations I've had actually over the last 3 months, more so than ever before, where I've actually said to the person I'm connecting with, I'm actually really angry. I'm pissed off that someone shared this with you. And there was even this one lady that I connected with, and she was pretty much told that she was going to lose all her money and she was going to become bankrupt. And there was something else that this astrologer had said. And I could see the transit that he had referenced. However, I was, hang on a minute, there's so many different interpretations of this. And actually, if you look at not just your past, but also your future transits, he would have known that this is an ending one, meaning you're not going to lose all your money. It means it's a reconciliation transit, meaning you actually get to move on. And I say now at the beginning of everyone I connect with that astrology is a language, not a belief system. And I'm going to give you lots of different things to chew on, or I'm going to suggest and offer up different things today because words are once. And I want to make sure that the meaning is empowering for you. Because I might say a word that's really empowering, but the person I'm connecting with might absolutely think the opposite. If I don't give that wiggle room for them to attach their own meaning, well, I'm just as much to blame as everyone else. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I really understand what you mean by that. And, that kind of behavior from somebody who's in a really, honestly, sacred position actually makes me extremely angry. She must feel my Aries and Mars and my chart. and my Mars and my numerology. I actually think that's a really disgusting thing to do to someone because, as you said, perfectly spot on, everything is open to interpretation, and there is no such thing as, oh, this is in your chart, whether it's your numerology chart, your astrology chart, whatever, whatever system you're looking at. There is nothing in there that is a definite, guaranteed, this is going to happen to you. And I find it especially upsetting when somebody says, this bad thing is going to happen to you, definitely. You know, it's so, first of all, it's wrong. It's incorrect. You have personal freedom. Yes, there is, you know, some things are destined in certain ways. Of course, you are who you are. Your astrological makeup is what it is. Your numerological makeup is what it is. But you have the choice. And it's a really disempowering and actually really cruel and nasty thing to say to someone who's come to you to have a chart reading done or a tarot reading or whatever done with you, and to tell them something really, really horrible, because the reality is you as a reader do not know that that thing is definitely going to happen. And also you need to be very, very careful because you do have a responsibility when people are coming to you. And often people come for readings when they're in a place in their life where they're feeling confused or they're going through something or they're feeling life is a bit stuck or, you know, generally, you know, people often don't go for readings when they're in everything's great. You know? So they're coming in and they're in a vulnerable position. You're in a position of power in a sense as the authority figure delivering this information. Yeah. You're the one who's the expert and you are the person who is decoding the language of the stars or the language of the numbers for this person. And you have a responsibility to treat that with respect and caution.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And I think too, it's just making sure as well that your biases, I'm always very aware. I think when I was first starting out, look, my biases would get projected onto the person I was connecting with. I think that's only natural. I think that happens on a day-to-day basis anyway. But I think I was really green and I was still working out, but my intentions were good. That's the difference, right? But what I tend to hear now is when I connect with someone, oh my gosh, I had this reading and I got told that I was never going to find love or I would never have what it takes to be a CEO. Oh, yeah. It's so, it honestly, Jen, I get so angry and I openly share that because I'm just blatantly not true. It would be ignorant as an astrologer to think I knew more than the person I'm connecting with. Sure, I'm reading a natal chart. That's something new that's coming into the conversation that the person I'm connecting with doesn't necessarily know. However, I always say you are the ultimate oracle of you. You know more than I do. I just give you different lenses to view things through. And so if my biases come, oh, you're getting this transit, oh, well, that means X, Y, Z. Well, then that means that you're kind of closing your person in, and it's also leaning to a place of disempowerment.
100%. And, you know, as humans, we tend to put a lot of limitations on ourselves. And we say and think terrible things about ourselves and to ourselves. And we tell ourselves that we can't be this or we can't do that. You certainly don't need to go to someone who's meant to help you. And then that person also puts a limitation on you, making you feel you're not enough. Our job as a reader of any kind, in my opinion, is to support people to bring out the best in who they are and what they are given as gifts in life. You know, with your astrology chart or with your numerology, this is something you were born with. And there are so many ways that you can work that energy. And there are so many things that you can do to make the most of every placement, every number, every planet, whatever's going on in whatever house or whatever it is. Our job is to give people the information and support so that they can use that to bring out the best. Why would you say the worst possible scenario to someone? Why would you tell them all these horrible thing. Everything, every number, every planet, every star sign has its things and its challenges.
Totally.
That's life, right? But when we have the knowledge, have the ability and the option to create even out of those challenges as well. We don't just pretend the challenges aren't there. We work with them, we work through them, we balance them out, we do what we need to do to make it work. That's our job, is to be that guide, not to be that person who squashes someone.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was last year because there's a lot being thrown around with toxic positivity. And I've had to kind of premise to a lot of people that looking for the most empowered path forward is not toxic positivity. Because I think there can be some blurred lines with that too. Because sure, we're going to have perceived challenges we're going to be experiencing. Sometimes life is shit and we get handed things that we are just like, can the universe give me a minute? I need to take a breath, right? But there's always this opportunity to focus on what we can control rather than what we can't. And how do we move through it so that we don't become a victim of our circumstances?
And I also think one of the best things that you can do for someone when they're struggling is just acknowledge that, which I'm sure you absolutely do. Acknowledge the struggle. Toxic positivity is glossing over the struggle. And everyone has different struggles and everyone has different levels of struggle at different times in their life. And some people have more challenges than others. And it's unfair and it's shit. And that is a reality of life. The idea that you can positive think your way out of it's a lie designed to sell books and seminar tickets, but it's not real. People do come to a reader for guidance, and it is a fine line, I think, to tread. And I think that comes with maturity. And that's not to suggest that someone who's young can't be mature, but I think when you do have emotional maturity and you do have empathy, you actually understand that someone is vulnerable when they come to you, and that a part of your role is to acknowledge and empathize and not just tell them to be positive, just
That's the worst advice ever.
add in your gratitude journal. It's not, all of those things can be helpful, but they're not the answer, especially when it's something that's systemic. Somebody has a challenge for a reason that is absolutely beyond their control. It's not helpful to do that. I just can't imagine saying to someone, you're going to be bankrupt and lose all your money. What an actual joke.
I
And
don't even know how you see that. Honestly, sure, there's some money things happening, but that's very specific. And I don't know about you, but sure, I can see things because astrology is patterns. So you get really good at noticing the patterns of things. I know when somebody might be thinking about having a baby, or they might be wanting to birth a business idea, or it's an end of a cycle. So an ending can occur, whether they do lose a loved one or whether they quit a job, but I don't know exactly how that's going to manifest. I can give them the overarching theme. And so I don't even know how half of these people go, you're never going to find love.
it's a sick thing to say to someone. You're never going to find love. There's no way that you can know that. For a start, there's absolutely no way that you can know that. And that's just such a horrible, horrible thing to say to someone. I've had some experiences with people that were really, really harmful, where they've said really, really horrible things to me. And if I hadn't had my own intuition come in on top of that and say, oh, that doesn't actually feel right, that feels that's coming from that person and whatever their issues are, I could have taken it to gospel and I could have made detrimental changes because of that so-called advice. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. If you're looking at a transit or you're looking at someone's number in a particular placement, or you're looking at their planet in a particular placement or whatever, it's not specific like that. You see the overarching energy and you also sit with that person and you sit with who they are and where they're at and what they're coming to you with. And then you work with those ingredients. You don't just look at someone's chart and go, oh, you're always going to have really poor health. You're unlovable. You're never going to make any money. You're never going to be successful. You're never going to be happy. It's just not how it works. It's just actually not how it works. And look, I'm sure there are people out there who disagree with us on that, but I really would ask those people to question your motivation. in looking at things and deciding that there is only bad in somebody's sign, placement, chart, numerology, whatever. I have had so many experiences, and I've also noticed that it's increasing with,
Wow, interesting.
yeah. And I'm guessing that that's because there's been an explosion of spirituality as a commercial enterprise, and that's drawing a lot of people into the field who are maybe not best placed to be giving people that kind of advice, doing that kind of work.
A question for you, because I'm curious, because being in the numerology space, and it's interesting because I wrote an article for Channel 7 News back end of last year, and it was to support the Powerball of numbers. Yeah, for the star sign. And it was funny because it's the first time I got an influx of emails and DMs, because I don't even share anything outwardly that's predictive because I try to avoid it. But I got this influx from people going, "What's my lucky number?" And I was, okay, this is a conversation I need to have with Jen, because I'm sure you deal with it all the time. This whole concept of good versus bad. Because I always say nothing is bad, nothing is good. It's just how do you find the center or equilibrium. But I can imagine being in that numbers realm specifically. And even I was just doing a bit of Googling before we jumped on, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's even a phobia where people have the fear of the number 13.
Oh, yeah, it's in my book. I can't remember the word. It's like discadadia, phobia of 13. There's a phobia of 4. There's a word for that as well. And 13 becomes 4. That is a real thing. And this is actually your question is the perfect segue into me ranting about my biggest pet hate in numerology. Biggest pet hate ever. I absolutely cannot stand this. And I get so many DMs and emails about this, and it really actually breaks my heart, is people being told that their numerology numbers are unlucky. And this happens all the time. Look, I'm so going to make some enemies. Sorry, right here and right now. But there's a whole spectrum of numerologists who perpetuate this idea that you can have good and bad numbers. You can have lucky and unlucky numbers. And to the point where they even advise people to change their name. Yes. Which,
Oh my God.
I feel rage when I think about it. I feel actual rage. And I know people who have changed their names because a numerologist told them that their numbers are bad luck. He said, you'll never find love if you have that number, those numbers. You'll never be, you'll never make any money. If you want to make money, you need to change your name. You need to put X in it, or you need to put this in it. I'm not kidding you. And this is a really popular thing in numerology. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it because, first of all, I think it's wrong. I think it's incorrect. But I also think it is a very harmful thing to be saying to people. We never know how vulnerable someone actually is. And we need to be so careful with what we say to people, and telling someone that their numbers are bad luck is, to me, I'm sorry, it's a disgrace.
I wonder where it started. There's always a history to everything, where somebody starts something and all of a sudden what they say is gospel. And especially too, if it continued in the industry as well, that's really concerning, that belief system it's not just one person saying that. And you can pick any industry, right? There's always going to be, pros and cons to it. I think of like the coaching industry. I've always got something to say about the coaching industry.
That's another episode.
No, I know. I won't even get into it today. But again, it's because whoever it is, right, whether it's a numerologist, the astrologer, or the coach, is they're putting themselves in a position of power where they think they know better than you, or they think they have the answers that you don't have. And I think especially when it's saying something's lucky or unlucky, it's a really slippery slope to go down, especially I think as humans, we're very impressionable. And especially too, if we've put that person on a pedestal. That's why I always say to people, I'm not a gatekeeper of knowledge. I'll try and give you as much as I can today. But at the end of the day, is that if you've put that person on a pedestal and then they're delivering you information that's, negative, well, then you're going to take that on board. And I'm so sad to hear that people that have changed their name.
Yeah. There's a lot of superstition attached to numbers, and there always has been. And superstition
Mm.
around luck and good luck and bad luck. And I don't know exactly where it comes from. There's a fair few streams. There's Pythagorean numerology. And then, in the Chinese system, there's a lot of good and bad luck associated with things. And I think people just sort of take that and then they steamroll it and they just run with it and they turn it into something even kind of more malefic than, I think that's the word,
Yeah.
than it even could be. Originally, for example, I had somebody reach out to me recently who was really deeply concerned. They'd given their son the wrong name and that it was not the right name and that they should change it and things like that. I just think that's really, really unhelpful for people, especially someone who, if you've just had a child, normally you're vulnerable and you're anxious and all you're thinking about is that child and their future and how can you do the right thing by them. And to then have someone say to you that you've named them the wrong name because the number isn't the right number and because that number's not good, that number's bad. No, 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 no. There is no such thing as a good or bad number, just like there is no such thing as a good or bad planet. Everything has its positive and negative side. This is the world we live in. We live in the world of duality. Our job is to go beyond duality into neutrality. It's not the cards you've been dealt, it's how you play them. And when you have the knowledge of what the cards you've been dealt are and what they mean and what they're good in this configuration, they're difficult in that configuration, this is how you work with it, then you play your hand really well and you know what you're doing and you make the best out of the situation. I get upset about, and this is probably something that might pee you off as well, Saturn. Everyone loves Jupiter. Saturn is a, you don't have any limitation and you have a frictionless life. I'm telling you, that is not good for you. That is bad. That is not good.
You become complacent.
Yeah, and you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
You don't evolve. You don't grow. Saturn, yes, it's classically, I'm doing air quotes here, nobody can see them, but it's classically, limitation. But from limitation comes growth.
Like,
Prune the plant in order for the plant to grow more abundant foliage. That is part of the growth cycle. Yeah. If you just consistently get what you want all the time without having to do anything, then that creates apathy. What's the point of anything? We've all met who are so privileged that they appreciate nothing.
yeah, absolutely. And I was only saying to Jenn offline before that I had such a big Jupiter year last year and I have a Saturn year this year. And for a while, I was actually kind of worried. I was like, God, it's been, a good year or two since Saturn's really influenced my chart. And, I rode that way. But as I crept towards the end of 2022, and then when I took a breath, I was like, oh shit, because Jupiter also is excess because it's grandiosity. And I just was like, oh no, I've been in Jupiter energy for way too long. And it didn't mean I didn't have challenges in 2022. Every time I did something, the universe met me halfway. Whereas with Saturn, you've got to put in the work and then Saturn rewards you at the end. And so it felt a bit effortless. It still had effort, but again, it was a bit more smooth. But by the end of the year, when I really finally caught my breath, I was like, oh, I actually felt really overconsumed. And Jenn actually put it beautifully. She said, Saturn's grounding. And that's exactly how I feel, is even though I'm not in those Saturn transits yet, but I know they're coming because there'll still be, that energy will be still starting to charge my natal chart. I feel more grounded. I feel my feet firmly on the ground. And can I tell you, after a Jupiter year, it's fucking amazing.
Stuck wondering what's on the horizon? Well, astrostrategy may be the celestial edge you're looking for. Astrologers gain insight into what's coming up using your transits and progressions. This information is then customized specifically to you and your unique natal chart. And I'm not talking the repetitive information on CoStar, but let's be real, it's a great place to start and it's where I started too. But there's way more insights you can access. And this is why I created my signature formula, Astro Strategy. Astro Strategy is 4 sessions spaced out over 9 to 12 months, you choose. And at each session, we reflect on the last quarter, identifying the sticking points, what's been happening in your life, and how you've been managing your time, energy, and greatest potential, all through the lens of your natal chart. Plus, we explore what's on the horizon. How can we look ahead at the most impactful and influential activations so that you can take big leaps towards your higher self? At each session, you'll walk away with an astro strategy. So think of this as your own personal horoscope and a plan in place to step into the energy of your higher self. If you want to know more, you can head to christygray.com or send me an email at hello@christygray.com for the 411.
And that's the thing, it's a gift, and that's the natural order of things as well. Everything moves in a cycle. It's not all constant outward growth. Sometimes your growth is happening on an internal level. And that's what Saturn gives you as well, and that groundedness and that balance. I mean, Jupiter, like you said, it's out of control. Constant Jupiter, it's having overly indulgent parents doesn't make for a very nice child. Everybody likes a brat. So, if everything's just easy all the time, it doesn't help. I've got a secret to share with you that I actually haven't ever shared this publicly, but here we go. I'm sharing it with all of you. When I first really looked into my numerology, my own personal numerology, and what those numbers mean and what the planets that are connected to those numbers mean and all of that, I actually cried because I had 8 and 9. 9 is ruled by Mars and 8 is ruled by Saturn. And I was devoed. I was like, everything's just going to be so hard because I've got these bad luck numbers and bad luck planets, and I was devastated. So dramatic, but it's true. I was really genuinely upset, and they're in my top kind of placements as well, those two. And then I thought, fuck that. There are so many great qualities to the 8 and the 9, to Saturn, to Mars, to those planets, that energy, that power that's in that energy, the wisdom that you get from Saturn, the drive you get from Mars, the sense of fairness that you get from Saturn, the thing with the Mars energy where, you seek to do only what's worthwhile and what's meaningful for you. There's a gift, So I rebelled after I had my little meltdown. I had this rebellion against it. And that's kind of informed my practice a lot in the sense I just, how bad I felt because of what people had said to me about my numbers and the planets associated with them, what I read about my numbers and the planets associated with them, all of these horrible negative things about Mars and Saturn and 8 and 9, 8 is Saturn, 9 is Mars. So they go together, right? All of these horrible, negative, shitty things that I was told about who I am and what I'm like and what it's like and what these planets do and what these numbers do and what the energy is. And I felt so awful about myself, once I had that fuck that thing, which is probably very much. Very 9. There's no way I could ever see myself making someone feel that about their chart, about the gift that they were born with, that they came into this world with. It's just beyond me how anyone could do that. And I was very hurt by that sort of belief system. I was very hurt by that, and I would never want to hurt anyone with that.
I can now see why you're so passionate about this as well, is that because of your own personal experience. And I think that is, even though that would have been, challenging at the time, especially because you had attached connotations to these numbers, but what a gift that it's ended up being, because then you can be the one that debunks this for other people. Because I am 100% aligned with you. Everything is a gift. Everything is a blessing. You've always got another empowered path forward that you can choose. It's your interpretation of it. And like, it's my favorite number. And I've been wearing a 888 necklace. I don't have it on today, but I've been wearing a 888 necklace, and it's the best conversation starter. It's so interesting. Numbers are really interesting how people were drawn to them. I've had random people, I've had 5 separate conversations over the last month just from wearing this necklace. Bizarre.
Yeah, it was people and people who were saying these things, who were interested in the same things as me, who were saying all these terrible things and things that I read. And it actually was a catalyst for me with numerology, because I started researching more and more and more and looking more and more and more into things so that I could find how to bring those challenges through in a way that they became blessings, and that then informed my practice when I started doing readings with other people and doing their charts. How can I bring this information through in a way that's going to be helpful and useful? You acknowledge the challenges, you accept that there are challenges, and you explain what those challenges mean for that particular person and how they can work with that. It's alchemy, like bring out the gold, out the gold, bring out the gold, because you can't avoid the challenge. There's
Yeah.
always either, but there's no definite way that that challenge is going to manifest. So what you have is the opportunity to choose an empowered path forward. As you said, it's such a good thing to say. I love that. To work with rather than again, or being in denial of or being afraid of, work with that and bring out the absolute best that you possibly can from that. And sometimes it takes many, many years to see the blessing.
Oh, yeah. If I even think back of my own journey, I haven't had, I would say, overly negative experiences with astrologers or numerologists. But for me, it's shaman. I've had 3 separate occasions where I have been cock-blocked, I say, from the universe for whatever reason. And honestly, I could not make this up. And the last experience, I've been very discerning of who I allow into my energetic space or who's a translator of whatever esoteric it is for me, because the last time I feel like the person that was doing a healing treatment on me was trying to take away my power, but also create a reliance. And it was almost predatory. And I was really wound up about it for a good few weeks afterwards. And it actually kind of frightened me a little bit as well, because he put me in a situation where he was trying to make me quite vulnerable, but then also was trying to build a reliance of, you need to do this, you need to come and see me. And he also tried to get me to see him outside or like go to his home. Luckily, I had my wits about me. And this is the thing. I think that we've got to be really careful of who we allow into our energetic space. But I don't think we should ever give our power away to anyone. But I think that what can tend to happen is when we connect with someone, we are almost giving a little bit of power to them anyway, because we're putting them in a position where we want to gain insight from them. And I think that's a beautiful thing when it is somebody that's really intentional and in the high vibrational energy. But we just need to make sure we're allowing people into our energetic space and we're giving our power away to the right people.
Yes. And I think, there is the psychic who tells you that you need to come back to talk about this next time. You need to come back to talk about that. And you need to come back to talk about that. No, you just need my money. I don't think you're serving people when you're creating independence where they have to come and see you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. People might want to come back. I often have people want to come back, maybe a year later or something and do another year ahead, or never with frequency. And yes, there are a lot of people who try to create a dependency and want you to come and see them over and over and over and over and over again. And similar to the scene of, a numerologist saying, oh, you've got all these problems with your numerology and your name all messed up and, it's really bad and you're going to need to change your name. And I'm sure that they probably also have to come back for a second session to change their name. It's not right to do that to people. And, I really think when it comes to the energy that you come into this world with, the first job is to accept it. And then the second job is to work with it. And then the third thing is to enjoy all of the blessings that come with that. You are you for a reason. And you're worthy exactly as you are. You don't need a different name number, numerology chart, or you don't need to pay a shaman, thousands of dollars for multiple sessions. And, it is a shame that there are people, and even people who are very discerning can sometimes get taken in by someone with heaps of confidence who, acts like they've got all the answers. And this is actually really relevant to this year's numerology. Just going a little side bend here. This year is a 7-year. And 7 is ruled by Neptune. And I did a yearly prediction year ahead, and I'm calling it the year of the guru. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a positive way. It's the year of people who put themselves on a pedestal and who are out there saying that they've got the one answer, they've got the only answer, their way is the only way, they've mastered the secret, they've unlocked the secret code, they're talking to Atlantis and they've got the real information, and they're the one who knows everything. Anyone who tells you that is an absolute liar. Beware, beware, beware. There's a lot of people that are around, especially at the moment. And this year it's gonna be peak guru season. I have my opinions on things, and I'm sure there's lots of people who disagree with my opinions on things. I would almost challenge anyone to say that my view of wanting to be kind and empower people rather than tell them that their astrology and numerology is a pile of shit is wrong. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got to have your wits about you. Anytime you've got Neptune involved, I always say this on the podcast, that if you've got Neptune flavor, is that there's this element of disillusionment. You can see things through rose-colored glasses. And it's interesting. So if yours is the year of the guru, I have shared through the astrology of this year that the theme I'm seeing is opportunities will exist everywhere. So we're going to have lots of opportunities to chase. So this is a perfect cosmic collision for us, because if it's the year of the guru, but there's going to be opportunities for growth and expansion and learning, and you choosing the most empowered path forward, well, then what comes in the middle of that? Discernment. It's having a level of discernment. So you invest in the right guru and also know that you are your own guru.
That's it. And, discernment. And what rules discernment? But Saturn, yay. Our favorite friend. Something I just want to add to that as well. What we're talking about too is if you have a bad experience with someone where they tell you something that really makes you feel bad about yourself, about what you're made up of, about what your chart is made up of, or about your energy or whatever it is, it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself if you have a bad experience with someone and feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't have been this stupid, or it's all my fault, or they're right, I'm this terrible, collision of shit. My constellation is just full of lumps of coal, Don't feel like it's your fault. It's not your fault. There are people out there who are going to be saying, good luck, bad luck. This number, you've got this bad luck number. Oh my God, you've got a really bad luck transit in your chart right now. Oh, your name is the wrong name. The number's a really bad luck number for money, or your astrological chart, you don't have any good planets in this house. That means you're always going to be sick. Whatever it is, listen to that bullshit and don't think that if you haven't experienced that there's something wrong with your energy or your vibration, or you did something wrong either. Even a bad experience can teach us something, obviously. But, if somebody treats you like that, don't walk, run.
Yeah, run in the other direction. I thought that to kind of round out this conversation, Jen, it might be nice to do a bit of a refresher for everybody on not necessarily lucky numbers, but I know in your book, Cosmic Numerology, you talk about a destiny number. And yeah, because I think that might be something that everyone could lean into, because you've got 3 very crucial numbers that you get everyone to, if they pick up the book, to work through and to really own those and integrate those. But I had a conversation with a client not that long ago, and she was, oh, what's my lucky number? And I was, let me pull out Cosmic Numerology and let's have a look at your destiny number.
I call it destiny number. It's also commonly called a life path number. Yeah. So it's the number that is the total sum of all of your numbers from your date of birth added together. and you keep adding it until you get a single number. And so I just prefer the name destiny. I feel it sounds good. So even having said that, when you're talking about a concept, life path or destiny, nothing is set in stone. You have the power. Yes, you have this number as your life path number, as your overall number or your destiny number. But each of these numbers has so many magical qualities that you can bring into your life and into your world and into yourself. I think I wrote in the introduction to that, destiny is not fate. You have free will and you can choose what to do with what you've been given. But yeah, the destiny number is a really good one to look at because it in terms of your chart, how you would look at it this is about how you evolve over time. It's about who you become more and more like as you go through life. So usually, especially if you work with it, the older you get, the more you become that destiny number and the planet associated with it. And the more you can bring those qualities out. Now, obviously, if you take something really obvious, I'll talk about mine. I'm Jupiter, which is number 3. So number 3 is my destiny number. And that is ruled by the planet of Jupiter, which is, everyone thinks it's the lucky planet, right? And 3 is the lucky number because it's associated with Jupiter as well, right? And look, Jupiter is about expansion and growth, and it brings optimism and hope and a happy-go-lucky attitude. And if you have a happy-go-lucky attitude, that's going to help you to bring more positive, good things to you anyway, right? But Jupiter is also excessive, and that can be, as you said, and that excess can be excessive restriction as well as excessive indulgence too. So with that excessive quality, you've got to watch out for things doing too much, taking on too much, trying to push too hard, trying to go too far too soon, overeating, over drinking, overindulging, or overly restricting yourself, overly controlling yourself, overworking, that sort of thing. Yeah. So you've got to deal with that energy that's there and realize that that energy is a possibility for you and counteract that energy and balance out those possibilities by avoiding excess. Recognize when you're being excessive in any way, shape, or form and reining it in. And with the optimism on the other side of that, you could be a little bit too reckless, maybe. You could be a little bit too, she'll be right, and not taking care of business, and not being careful with the foundational important things, enough money, good food, sleep hygiene, all of that stuff, because it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So optimism is a great thing, but optimism in excess is unhealthy. So even the positive quality of a number of a planet, if you overdo it, it's going to lead you to a not great place. When you think about the Venus energy, the energy of number 6, if you overdo Venus energy, you have a lot of drama in your love life. You're going to create a lot of drama. You're going to piss off your friends when you crack onto their loved one.
Totally.
Or you're going to be too obsessed with how you look. Venus is gorgeous. Venus is fun. Venus is creative. Venus is harmonious. Venus is all of these things. But, the excess of focus on that energy can bring about a lot of not so pretty things and not such pretty behavior. So it's everything, there are positive qualities and challenging qualities to any number, planet, placement, configuration. It's important to know what both of them are and not, also, I think toxic positivity is an over focus on positivity. And so that's also excessive and out of balance. Trying to force your brain to always think positive thought. You turn your mind into a prison and you're the jailer. Challenges are everywhere. And the grit makes the pearl.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and a huge thank you to Jenn for having this conversation with me. If you have loved this conversation, I highly recommend you check out Jenn's book, cosmic numerology. It's definitely one of my go-tos when it comes to my favorite astrology and esoteric and spirituality books. I'll be back next week and we're going to be diving into all things money. There's an amazing listener question that we're going to be diving into. We're going to be talking about the second house, money, and some challenges that she's experienced. Have a beautiful week, babes, and stay cosmic.